New Year's is a time of celebration and anticipation. The question I often think of is how much of that life is actually run by a checklist that's maybe written by others. Hey guys, my name is Anthony. I'm here with Joshi and David Herring.
Yeah.
We're here with The Good Life, your practical guide to adulting. And we just want to wish you a Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2026.
That's crazy.
And
crazy.
with that comes a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement, a lot of New Year's traditions, and a lot of anticipation and expectations as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what's really hilarious about New Year's that I always think of? Is there are going to be kids that are born in 2026. Have you guys thought about that?
Oh.
I'm like, there was a kid who there was a neighborhood kid that I was talking to, and I was like, oh, how old are you? Oh, I'm this. Well, what year were you born? I was born in 2018.
Oh, I don't know what exactly you're talking about.
I was like, oh, man. That's always the first thing I think about.
Yeah.
I think jumping right into New Year's, I know this is like a pretty typical question, but what is one New Year's resolution that you guys are looking to have into this next year? I could tell you one for myself. I want to Bible study one verse every day. That's kind of been my monthly resolution for the month of it was my monthly resolution for the month of December, but going into this month, which is January, I'm really wanting to pursue that as sort of a daily mantra.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you guys? It could be do 10 squats a day. It could be.
I know David's a big dreamer, though. Like, he's got big dreams.
David's like, I'm going to run 6 miles a day.
2026 is going to be a big year.
Oh, that's actually a really good one.
What, running 6 miles a day?
Maybe not. Well, I mean,
It's like maybe not 6, but maybe 8.
Maybe
Probably a good
8.
number.
Give it 10. Maybe 12.
you might as well push for the half already. So 12, 13.
It's like 8's the kind of the
13.1,
warm up.
it's
kind of the
Yeah, we'll
warm-up.
just settle on 13.
We'll just sit on 13 every single day.
We'll land in the middle.
Oh, no, man, that's training right there. I think that was a really good point in the direction of, like, I was thinking, like, okay, then something athletic. But the first thing that came to my mind was making sure that I can build a solid financial income in a way that I don't have to work as much. I think that's one of my biggest resolutions that I have. So I think feeding into that dream, and just because I want to be able to take care of myself and so I can take care of others.
Come on.
I think making sure that I have at least one avenue of my life where that financial income is going to be something that I'm very strong with, and I know that that's working. Because I'm not just going to stick to one thing. You know me.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm going to be working a bunch of different avenues and other aspects of life. So, just to honor the Lord.
Dude,
so, yeah. What about you, Anthony?
That's awesome. No, that's an honorable goal. I think that's great. I can't wait to see that happen. It's hard. I think because there's like different areas in my life, I like to set goals for each one. But I think I don't know, there's like, I can tell you, like, with bodybuilding, there's the pro card that I'm after, and like wanting to be able to get on stage and qualify for that next year is going to be this year is going to be a big thing in 2026. I think another one is career of, like, I've been in the same job for over a year now, and what does it look like for me to advance into the next step of my career? I think is another thing. It's interesting because I know nursing was just announced as, like, it's no longer a professional degree, which doesn't necessarily affect. I think it affects more of the people that are trying to come into the field more than, and trying to get loans and stuff. But yeah, I think I just have this idea that like things can change anytime. I think that's what I get from that. You know, like, news happens, politics, whatever it is. But I think the root of it is that, like, change happens. The only consistency is inconsistency, right? And so the only unchanging thing is that there is going to be change. So I think bringing that into this new season, I think the word I want to live off of is adaptability. I think that's the single theme that I want to revolve around, is being able to adapt on the go, no matter what the situation arises.
That's a very nursing quality. I think you and I probably have heard that numerous times in nursing school.
It's like, float. All right. Or like, do this.
I think in nursing school, like, the theme I've heard is be flexible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that too. Because it's like, you could be passing meds one moment and then they're coding the next. It's like you have to be able to like flip.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a practice that is unknown to life. And I think that that's exactly what you're saying. It's like, hey, this career change happens, this opportunity presents itself. Like, how do you flex? How do you bend to like accommodate that new switch?
Yeah.
That new adjustment, that new shape.
100%.
Yeah.
What,
No, and I think it's a great transition into what we're talking about today, which is about expectations. And I think it's no coincidence that we're starting off this new season talking about expectations, because we got a lot cooking for you guys. But just so excited to hop into this this new season. But yeah, talking about expectations. Anthony kind of posed this question at the beginning. I want to legitimately ask it to you guys, which is, how much of your life is run by a checklist written by someone else? And I'll even expand it a little bit more. How many do you have a checklist of your life of boxes that other people are expecting you to mark off?
Sure, yeah. I can go ahead and dive into that.
knock
I
yourself out.
absolutely think that there's that checklist. The thing though for me is like, do I respond to that? Do I like follow into making sure that I can meet those check marks? For me, absolutely not. I could care less. I mean that in a very honest and loving way, because what I mean by that is like, people could have all these expectations and all these shoulds and should nots, but unless it isn't communicated clearly, I'm going to continue to live honestly about what I believe and know is right.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to hold me back.
Yeah.
I think you should do this way. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to just be thinking about that. Like, if you have something, like, we'll talk it through and then maybe we can make something work, because we understand that there's maybe a standard or an expectation. And I've learned this with Anthony, to be very clear and to communicate that, and also understand respectively our own personality types.
Yeah.
Because then that way we can actually work and flow and live together, not just exist together once again, right?
Totally.
But I would say, yeah, it's just recognizing like if you're going to actually respond to that, and if you're not, then for your own individual self, are you able to actually take that on then? The responsibility, the ownership to actually live the life with your own set of expectations. But yeah, that's just kind of something that I was thinking
You mean
about.
like setting a standard for yourself? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like being able to set a standard for yourself, knowing that, oh, there are people that have expectations for me. Because there's just this one quick little conversation that I had with a friend a few weeks back. And he's like, what's your career? What's your focus of what you want to do? And I said, I'm doing all of these different things and I'm pouring out 100% into all of these. And he was like, well, aren't you spread too thin? And I was like, okay, perhaps that might be the truth. But now look at this. I don't have school. So now my focus isn't distracted from school and then taking care of all these other things. I don't have school anymore. So now my focus is onto all these other things.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm driven by. And I don't believe myself to be so spread thin in that, because my focus and time and energy goes into all of those things, rather than I have to focus on school while balancing all these other things. And that's what I love about the freedom in that, but also the difficulty of navigating what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I think a big question, I think for everyone else too, is like what's the rush? Like, what is the rush to be so efficient that we have to get XYZ done by this time? I think it's okay to have urgency, but why do we have to have a family by 25? Why do we have to get married by 23?
Jumping outwards a bit.
I think, wow, yeah, there's so much. I think part of that, though, I think to push back is also like the sense that life is short, that life is you have a limited time on earth to do everything that you want to do. And so, you can't be mopping the floors for 30 years. You got to be able to get outside and start getting after those goals.
Yeah.
And, part of, I think, setting goals is setting a time constraint for yourself. I think you can imagine, like, if you were to go to work and your boss never gave you a deadline, then what would that look like? You would just, there wouldn't be a set expectation to get that done. So I think there's definitely, like, value, I think, in having a certain constrained time to any given task, right?
Sure.
Not sure if you agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. My one thing, though, is, like, given the timeline of deadline,
Yeah.
I think, at least in Western culture, as we look at it, a lot of it is very, let's get it done, like, now.
Yes.
And you can get things done now, but maybe that now looks like let's get it done within these 2 weeks to complete that now. Because there's certain things you can't get done immediately within like the next day.
So you bring up this idea, like I think the golden question I have is like, when are goals and expectations productive rather than when are they almost harmful to you?
That's good.
You know, is it always good to set goals for the new year, or is it sometimes just you're just setting yourself up for failure essentially because it's an expectation that you're not going to meet, right? Like, so, you know, I think there's so many, and we talked about this, David, me and you, in this episode of expectations versus reality in adulthood, right?
Yeah.
That was, I believe, episode 15, and it's just this idea that we have so many expectations in this time, in our 20s, in our maybe 30s, you know, in our life, and it's like, what do we do to contend with those things? What action are we taking? You know, there's so many avenues, rabbit holes we can go into. Where do we go?
Right.
And that's, I think, one of the hardest things about adulting.
Well, it's like this. It sounds like it's expectation as freedom versus expectations as a constriction. Right. So it's like, let's say that you were looking in this new year and you're like, I'm going to, like what I said, like I'm going to Bible study every day for at least 15 minutes.
Right.
That's a very specific expectation I'm setting on myself. And it's pretty easy to determine if I'm making it or I'm not. Versus if your goal for the year was like, I'm going to invest and build quality relationships. If you build one quality relationship, that's satisfying your goal for the entire year, hypothetically, right? Versus like for me, it's like mine's very much a practical, accountable day to day. Yours is like, well, it can be satisfied in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you think that can be a limiting constraint for yourself? Like, say you set yourself to reading the Bible 15 minutes a day, but then you're like, okay, I'm done, rather than like going above and beyond with that goal, right?
Exactly. So that I think goes into the kind of a good question of like, okay, goal setting. Like, what's the act of goal setting, and like, how do we do it in a way that is something to stretch for instead of be limited by?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's a sky to aim for instead of a ceiling to be limited, like to be sort of squished down by.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I mean, maybe that's something that we can get into is like, how do you, I mean, I think we kind of got a quick sense of how each of us goal sets. It seems to be for you guys, it's a little bit more conceptual, where it's like, I want to be adaptable.
Yeah.
Being adaptable can look a lot of different ways.
Yes.
Being in a genuine relationship, or I totally am trying to remember what the goal that you gave, but like that can be achieved in a variety of different ways.
Right.
Like financial goals.
Financial goals. That's right. Yeah, financial goals, right? Like, but that can be very practical. You could say, I want to save 20% more than I do now. But what about saving 50% more than you? What if you meet that goal in February?
I hear you.
And then you want to aim higher.
Right.
Do you reevaluate your goal and then set another one?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's something that maybe our generation, I'm just speaking from what I've observed, like, isn't totally great at. Is setting goals and not only like following through with them, but then reevaluating. And then, like, let's say you get to November and you still don't make the 20%.
Yeah.
How do you be realistic and graceful with yourself with not meeting that goal or not meeting the expectation? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think it's kind of the balance of both. How do we goal set? Anyways, that's kind of what
I mean, practically, how do you guys tend to, do you guys set New Year's resolutions actually real quick, or do you guys tend to just go into the new year with more of an open mind?
Probably the second option, probably the latter, with an open mind. And it's not to say that I don't have like goals that I set for the new year though. But I just never really walked into the new year with like, oh yeah, what's my New Year's resolution?
Like, it's going to be this.
Yeah, it's going to be like this thing. It's more of like, okay, what can I do better than I did last year? Like, what can I improve and change?
Yeah.
Maybe that is the resolution, but
it's interesting because the way that you make a resolution is different than how Anthony does. Because his, I definitely think is rooted in something similar, where it's like, oh, what can I improve in that I maybe didn't last year? But for his, I feel like it's more of like an auditing of something that you wanted to grow in that maybe you were lacking, or maybe something that you want to grow more in that you were in progression from last year. So like the adaptability thing, like I think David and I could both say you're a pretty adaptable person, but for you to be like, I want to be even more adaptable than I am now, and in anticipation of potentially career change, like
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm wondering if you can get this down, this Josh, of like, I think the New Year's resolution game is so interesting because I forget like what the number is of like the people that drop off after a certain amount of time of like who actually follows through with their New Year resolution. But it's a substantial like number of people that drop off. I don't know what it's like 2 months, like in February, like everyone's already basically failed.
Right.
And I think I understand that to be like, okay, then what's the point of setting New Year's resolutions?
Yeah.
But then I also like my pushback with that is then I think a more valuable answer or question to ask is also like, well, then how can I reevaluate my goals and then move forward? I think Josh touched on this of like, do you look back at your goals again? And I think yes, I think absolutely. I think every quarter you should kind of, and something I do is like every kind of few months I look back and like, okay, am I on track? Even on a monthly basis, like these are the habits I set or these are things I'm trying to achieve. Like how am I getting along in that way? And is it getting me closer? Because if not, like we are either pivoting or we are changing our goals or something's not happening right because something needs to change, right? So
Want to hear some fun stats?
yeah, do tell me. I'm so curious.
So it says historically, only about 9% of Americans who make New Year's resolutions report successfully keeping them throughout the year.
There you go.
And then look at this. Around 23% of adults quit the resolution by the end of the first week of January, and nearly doubles approximately to 43% by the end of January.
Holy God.
And then some studies suggest 88% of resolutions fail within the first 2 weeks. And there's actually, interesting, I didn't know this, but the second Friday in January is often dubbed Quitter's Day. Because research indicates it's the day when most people abandon their goals relative to when they start them. So
wow.
That's pretty telling. That like
for real.
How and so maybe you know what? Maybe then, right? Maybe the part of the issue is not only like people making goals, but it's how do you keep them?
Yes.
Like I think that's kind of really the root of it. It's like you can set as many goals as what you want. I'm gonna wake up at 7. I'm gonna eat breakfast every day. Like I'm gonna you could set as many goals as you want, but how do you follow up with that? I think it's definitely one thing that I've learned from you guys is discipline, right? And I know that this could be definitely talked about when it comes to like bouldering, right? Where it's like how do you be consistent? So yeah, I mean, maybe what are some? There's some other things I want to get into, but I want to hit this too.
Yeah, I want to affirm what a great question that definitely is, because I mean, it's just so interesting that I think that is the deeper question of like. Okay, how do you set resolutions? But no, how do you keep them? Because that's where most people fail.
The real
Anyone
issue.
can set a New Year's resolution, right? Only 10% really keeps them, if anything, right?
Which is crazy.
So how do you go about doing that, David?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned discipline, Josh. That was the first word that came to my mind. And the reason why is because that is where the impact, the result that we're looking when we make a goal as a New Year's resolution actually comes out. Because when we stick to something and we have it as a goal set, and we meet the standard, we meet the expectation, and we actually chip away at the bigger picture of what we actually wanted within that resolution, then it's like we actually are achieving something truthfully that we had set and envisioned in front of us. And so you mentioned all those little things that you can almost like micromanage, where it's going to be waking up early in the morning and you have this routine at 7 a.m. every single morning. You're going to do that for the full year, we'll say. And then you also want to eat a healthy breakfast, something light. You want to go for a nice little walk. If you have things like that, and maybe you have even more goals throughout the day, like I'm going to eat lunch at this time and then I'm going to fast for this, whatever that looks like. I know we're talking very like diet, nutrition focused. But I
mean, that's practical. Right.
In that practical sense of getting through your meals and what you need to get by with the food and then some little exercise and some sunlight, I think the discipline that I take it's affirming in the sense of what discipline actually is. And for me, that is that no matter how bad or how much worse it could be and how much you feel in that, you consistently still choose to show up. And motivation then, in contrast, will tell you, okay, I feel this way, so I think I can do it, or I feel I can do it. But discipline really shuts that idea down, and it really affirms more on the opposite side, where it's like, no matter what's going on in your life, like you're going through a storm or you're not going through a storm, I'm still just going to show up and be here. It's raining, I'm still going to go for a run. I've done that. It's snowing.
I'm sure you have.
Snowing, I'm gonna go for a run. In the desert,
Yeah.
it's what, 95 degrees out. Still go for a run. Put a hat on. Put some sunscreen on.
Easy
Whatever
for
you
you to
need. Your
say, Dave.
glasses, you know, right? But
It's
that's
hailing
the
outside. Let's
Yeah.
get it.
as you guys hear.
Tanning as you're running.
It's a tornado, guys.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's
Run with a parachute on. You feel like you're getting faster. Put a
Oh
parachute
my
on.
gosh.
Like you're not limiting yourself because you're pushing yourself to greater
Yeah,
limits, right?
totally.
And
Yeah.
why this is so relevant to adulting today is like the discipline that is required of us is one that says you have to look at your situation and how you can move forward, not look at your situation and how that's holding you back.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
Right.
Like it sounds like perspective is everything.
Right.
Right. Or it's a big part in motivation, which is a huge part of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear. I want if you have thoughts, but I have a different direction. I want to run with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the quote, I was reading a book earlier this week when I was in Tahoe with some friends, and the quote goes, most of us only change when the pain of holding on to what we're attached to is greater than the fear of the unknown. And I think that's really true because we're always going to move towards the path of least resistance. We're always going to do what's the easiest, right?
Yeah.
And I think as humans, that's just how we're made. It's almost like a survival instinct. Like we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to do the cold bath. We don't want to get up at 5 a.m. We don't want to do the run because it's hard work, right? And 90% of us will choose to take that option over the 10% of us. That's just how it is. 9 out of 10 times you will do that, right? Statistically.
Yeah.
But I think with that being said, like, I think the reason why, I think for myself at least, that I do tend to change and embrace change and fall in love with the process of changing is that I think it's so painful for me to see myself stay the same year after year after year.
Yeah.
And I would much rather go through the difficult season of just going through those difficult changes, that I would choose that option over just staying the same every time.
Yeah.
Every single time. So
I have some really strong pushback for both of you guys that I want to challenge you with, and I would imagine that people who are listening would also be challenging too. I think I think we've obviously identified in this conversation how change is good, and goal setting is good, and discipline's required to goal set, and motivation's required to have discipline, which is required to achieve your goals, right? But I also think that a lot of the big elephant in the room that can undershadow all of that is insecurity versus security, right? So like I often think about like I think the first thing that comes to mind is I think most people think about when it comes to goal setting and New Year's resolutions is working out, right? Like it's not unknown to me and Anthony, and I'm sure most people, that fitness is a really important part of life, and it's a thing that everyone I recommend should do, not only for mental health but also physical health. But anyways, besides that point, I've been talking to a couple of different people about that, and I think one of the greatest things that I contend with when it comes to making any sort of goal is, what if it doesn't work out? What if I don't make it? What if I let people down? Like all of those little bitty voices that are the enemy, I think, chewing on the expectations and how that determines my value based on me achieving such and such thing, right? And so I think one thing I want to really kind of challenge you guys with is like, yes, goal making is good. Yes, discipline is good. But how do you gain security in yourself enough to know that no matter the outcome of you achieving or not achieving that goal, you're going to be okay? I think that's one of the greatest barriers to goal achieving or challenge is I don't want to put myself in a position that is hard because I don't want to lose. I'm too insecure to put myself in those positions.
I feel like it's almost paradoxical because it's interesting because the more you achieve, the less I feel like, well, okay, maybe that's not true. I was going to say the more you achieve, the less insecure you feel, but then I'm sure there's cases where you also still feel insecure about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a deeper thing, but yeah, it's almost interesting because like like your success and your ability to achieve your goals builds confidence, and I think some ways builds security in your identity and who you are.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, your insecurity can be the thing that holds you back from setting goals. Can be the thing that holds you back from being able to try something new, because there's that voice in your head that tells you, I'm going to fail this again.
Yeah.
Just the same way I did 19 years ago,
Right,
or 19 years, the past 19 years. I've
Yeah.
been trying to fight the sin that I've been, battling since I was in 5th grade. But year after setting this resolution, I'm trying to tackle this thing that, my fleshly body wants.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So why? What's the point? What's the
Yeah.
point?
Yeah. No, it's this idea that I think this summarizes it really well. It's insecurity breeds compliance,
Yeah.
and faith breeds courage.
Yes.
Right? So like your insecurity makes you complacent with the routines and the things of your life because you don't want to change it because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
But when you're not, and we've talked about this. We've used the metaphor of probably bouldering and working out. Like you actually have to stress your body for it to grow.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to put it in situations where it's like, I have to grow to work to be better for it to actually say, to develop,
Yeah. I mean, I think the quote that sums that up is also like, sorry, I'm blanking right now. I think the quote that sums that up is that, comfort, the enemy of progress, I think, is comfort.
Oh yeah.
Because I think so much of us feeling comfortable, I think I throw out this idea of like seek discomfort all the time.
Right.
Because it turns flips the script around to realize that comfort isn't something that you're trying to, or discomfort isn't something that you're trying to avoid, but you're trying to actually run after it.
Yeah.
A really interesting anecdote I think that I recently learned is about water buffaloes and the difference between water buffaloes and cows. Both actually have the sense of when a storm is coming, but the difference between a cow or a sheep and a water buffalo is that like cows tend to run away from the storm when they feel it. They're scared of it. They're running away, right? That's what a lot of us do. That's what probably 90% of us do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, water buffaloes, what they do is they actually run towards the storm. And the reason why they do this is because they understand that running towards the storm, they actually spend less time in the storm. As the storm is moving towards you, if you're running through the storm, you're not going to spend as much time as someone running away from the storm as the storm is coming from you.
I like that a lot.
Right? And like how beautiful is that as an analogy for the way that we view our goals, our resolutions. If we can be more of a buffalo approach and just go head on, approach it, right? Just go through that storm. It's going to be so much faster than someone who's running away. That's going to eventually, it's going to catch up with them either way.
That's right.
But you're just going to have to address it later on, and you're just pushing it under the rug, right?
Yeah, and that's not going to help you. It really isn't. I mean, you might feel as if that might help you now in the moment of time, but you're just delaying the storm to actually hit you harder down the road when you run away from it. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for not just mental health, but being able to confront is the word. Confront and face your fears and your problems. Because if you don't have the courage built up, if you don't take on the difficulties that you have in your life, whether you see them or not, or be so self-reflective that you can recognize what those are and confront them, then you're not going to grow. You're not going to heal from your trauma, from your hurt. And I don't mean to sound so directive on that, but I really encourage that is something that we can all partake in, is just that journey of self-reflection and grow in that self-awareness so that when we see and there's a problem in front of us, we can actually address that. There was 2 points that I just wanted to briefly mention.
Sure.
To answer to you, Josh, I really love the question that you rose because with like there's insecurity, right? So then how do you get through? For me, as a Christian, I recognize remembering everything about what Christ enables me to do. And I think about where is my identity in Christ? And my identity is in Christ. So with that being said, no matter how short I fall of the goals that I set or the energy that I give, it's not enough. No matter what those thoughts come through, it's like, I know my identity in Christ. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm cared for, that there's a support system out there, that God provides for me everything that I need, the food, the water, the shelter, but then also more importantly, the deep spiritual and emotional needs, what goes deeper and beyond than the temporal, physical. And then the other thing that I wanted to speak on was what Anthony was saying. you had you had some. I like the ideas that we're going back and forth on because there's so much beautiful pushback. I'll say, you know, we're all kind of jumping and sharing off of each other, but just kind of giving ourselves grace in that process and just reaffirming that the discipline that's required of us, I mean, it won't always necessarily need that motivation, but motivation can be that spark. But even if you don't have that spark, what exactly are you holding on to that keeps you going? And to bring that to a topic of conversation with what Anthony was saying with what's the point? I mean, in philosophy, we really think about that question, what's the point? But then if you ask yourself again, what's the point? And you get that difference, that'll change the whole perspective of how you approach certain things. And that's what I love about this conversation, because that gives you more strength to grab discipline and say, okay, I'm taking you with me and we're getting this done, rather than motivation. I see you, man, I'm so happy you're here, let's go. You see what I'm saying?
Can you rephrase that again? Like the difference between motivation, like just motivation, but then like taking on discipline?
So we'll say motivation gives you the sunshine, rainbows, and giggles. But discipline will be that storm over here and will help you to recognize the sunshine, rainbows, and giggles that you have right now. And discipline will say, okay, I'm coming, but you're going to take me on and we're going to get through this. But with motivation, it's more of you're only simmering and lingering in this space of sunshines, rainbows, and giggles. And you're not being able to conflict.
Well, that's honestly, I think, why that statistic probably makes sense. Right? Because like that, they're motivated for a week.
Right.
And then the motivation diminishes and then discipline doesn't kick in and then it's over.
Right.
Right? Like that's essentially what I'm hearing you say. Is motivation is a temporary feeling that supports a goal.
Right.
But discipline is actually what sustains someone to actually achieve a goal. Okay. Wow.
I do like the analogy of the flame and the fire. I think that is helpful in understanding like how our attitude towards channeling and like achieving goals is. I think it, for me at least, it's like it starts with the inspiration, and that's the spark. And you have to, in the beginning, kindle the fire. Like when you start a fire, you need to give it a lot of attention. It takes a lot of work up front. But once it's built into a fire, like you can start a whole forest fire. Like it doesn't take a lot of work. If anything, we're trying to like stop it. It's hard to stop it. The same thing I think is with passion, with goal setting. It's like in the beginning, it takes just a little spark. But once you get to the size where it's like it's a humongous forest fire, like people will have so much trouble stopping you. Like it's almost impossible to stop at that point, and it just keeps burning.
Right. Well, I think that's kind of like the momentum where it's interesting because like I think that motivation doesn't just play a role in the beginning; it also plays a role in the end too, and like actually following through, right? Because like if you want to use motivation with that symbol of as a fire, right? Like I think that's one of the greatest difficulties of achieving a goal is like, or like, okay, here's another thing too. I remember 2 or 3 years ago, one of my goals was to pay off my debt, right? And the most difficult thing about paying off debt is starting. It's like, 'cause you have to be like, I'm literally throwing a rock at a wall. Like, how am I going to knock this down? Right. But then there's this idea, that Gordon Ramsay talks about, Gordon Ramsay. That's not
Dave
Gordon.
Ramsay.
Dave Ramsay. Not Gordon Ramsay. The chef. I always get them confused. Sorry. Which is the snowball effect. Which is like you pay to get to literally you pay chunk sums or you pay your smallest debt first so that you can build motivation to pay the bigger ones. Right. And so like I paid off the first credit card that was like a very minuscule amount, but I paid it off. I was like, oh my gosh, we could do it, you know?
Right.
And I think that's the same thing with like working out or anything that you set your mind to. It's like, wow, I lost 5 pounds. What's holding me back from losing 20? You know, like, but you have to like initially the discipline has to carry you through that first rough patch of like, I'm doing it just for the sake of doing it. But then when you start seeing the results, then motivation kicks back in. Then you're really rocking. Then that fire really gets going. And like, I've seen that with Anthony too, like with the bodybuilding competition, like it was so hard at first.
hard,
It was an adjustment,
Mm.
but your discipline carried you through that initial. But then when you started seeing the results, you're like, "Holy smokes, this is great!"
Yeah,
You know what
I mean, I think that's the whole like secret behind momentum.
Yeah.
Is that
momentum? I think that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the word we're looking for. Is that
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of times people ask me like, how do you do all the things that you do, like time wise? Like, how do you even do the bodybuilding and like podcasts, and you work full time as a nurse, and then you like travel into your family, and like how's this all possible?
Right.
It's because I didn't do all those things all at once.
Mm.
It's because I started nursing school, and then once I got that down, then I decided to go into a bodybuilding competition, and then after I felt like that down, then we added a podcast to it, and then once we got that down, then I'm not telling you what's going on next.
Yeah.
You know, but the sky's the limit. Like
Yeah.
it gets easier because those habits eliminate you having to have, you know, motivation anymore. It's already there.
Yeah.
It doesn't take motivation for me to go to the gym, as crazy as that sounds.
No, but you know, but I will say, and we've talked about this. There are times, there are days, weeks when going to the gym is difficult,
Right.
genuinely difficult, and I don't want to discredit that part. Like, we're talking about momentum, but momentum doesn't mean that there are gaps. There's dips, there's drops that happen. Like, that totally happens. Where you're like, that's where discipline kicks back in, right? Because like but I think that's also something too. Is like, I think we talked about this our Christmas episode. Is like how it's all about intention, right? And you touched on this a lot, right? Where it's like it's making that choice to see the bigger picture, right? Like, where right now I can't see the results of 5 months from now, but I can trust the fact that with the choice I'm making today, it will ultimately result in that outcome in 5 months,
Right.
you know,
Right.
Yeah. No, I think something valuable, I think, from this habit book that I read a while back is that one of the things in order to be able to follow what you want to set yourself to is attaching your identity to that thing, right? Like, Josh, you love to swim, right? And there's like in the past, and there's this, I don't know if he swims anymore.
What a great that was not
but there's a point with this. I swear there's a point with this.
Sure.
But like, Josh, you love to swim. Like, part of that comes with practice. You got to go to swim practice. You got to put that buoy between your legs and do those pulls, right? You got to do that butterfly.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? But what about when you don't feel like swimming? Then what happens, right? You know, Michael Phelps doesn't take days off when he doesn't feel like swimming. No, he's an Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why he wins all those gold medals that he has won. Right? The same thing with, you know, if you consider yourself like you want to be a competitive climber one day, like a competitive climber doesn't take days off when he doesn't feel like climbing. He just does it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's because that's intrinsic to who they are, right? A bodybuilder doesn't take days off. Like, oh, I don't feel like eating this chicken breast today, I'm not going to do it. No, it's I'm a bodybuilder. This is what I do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a podcaster. This is why I show up every week to film podcast episodes.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a nurse. That's why I show up to work and take care of these patients. Like, it's part of who I am.
Right.
It's not just an extension of me. It's a deeper intrinsic core value, core identity. So I think once once something is so deeply rooted in who you are, it's actually really hard to not like do the thing, because it feels almost like it feels wrong to not, if that makes sense.
So I want to jump on that when it comes to discipline, right? Thinking more practically, right? And building automatic rhythms, which is I think is something that can be applied to many things, but obviously in the conversation of discipline, that's very true. But there's this phrase, I'm sure we've heard, it takes 21 days to build a habit. Right, which is a myth, right? Like, it doesn't actually. There's no like practical standpoint to say it takes 21 days. The research actually shows it takes around 18 to 254 days to build a habit, right? And it's around an average of an hour a day, right? Of doing the same thing, right? And it varies. It looks like based on the level of complexity of the habit. So, like, let's say your habit was, or your goal was, I want to drink a glass of water per day right after I wake up. Right, that might take you 18 to 254 days to build that automatically, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And going back to the conversation, right? It takes that. You may forget. You might have to run out the door, but like the discipline will be like, I'm going to appreciate myself in 5 months, 6 months, a year, when I continue to do this, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I think like that's something that people sometimes, that's the way that people look at goals, right? Or for me, it's like with nursing school, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to like suffer for a year and a half before I can get that license and start practicing as a nurse. I'm gonna have to go through days and weeks of bouldering before I can get to that next level
Right.
or that next tier,
Right,
right?
right.
Like, oh, like people sometimes look at goal setting like that. They look at it in the big picture, and the big picture is the barrier. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to spend so much time before I can finally be disciplined to just go to the, like their goal is I want to go to the gym without feeling like it's a burden, but they're so focused on the goal that it actually intimidates them from taking the steps to actually achieve that goal. If that makes sense. You know, so like for me, it's like if I looked at nursing school of, oh my gosh, it's going to be a year and a half. Yeah, maybe I won't want to do it. I think that's probably a reason people don't go into nursing schools because it's intimidating to think about it in the grander scheme.
Yeah.
But frankly, I think the greatest lesson I learned discipline wise is it's one assignment at a time. It's one exam at a time. It's one clinical at a time. It's 1 hour at clinical at a time sometimes, you know? And it's like, I think that's a very practical takeaway is like, goals aren't achieved in leaps and jumps; they're achieved in steps.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I think that's an attitude that is what builds discipline. It's what achieves goals, and it's an outlook on life. Like it's So, anyways, that's kind of something I was thinking.
Yeah,
about.
I think the idea of like I don't know if you guys heard like of the 10,000 hour rule.
Wait, is this related to the habits or?
Well, it's the idea that like it takes 10,000 hours in order to become an expert at anything.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
So
that's kind of what I was thinking about too.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
interesting because like realizing that I think oftentimes we think we could be we have going back to expectations, right? That's the original
that's
topic of
originally
where we're
what
at.
we're
Is
talking
like our expectation is almost so short-sighted. Like we think that we are gonna get married by 25, right? When in reality, oftentimes things can take longer than we expect. Right. It can take us longer to get that first house. It can take us longer to go through nursing school. It can take us longer, to find that person that we're looking for in terms of a dating relationship.
Yeah.
So it's like all of those things are going to take time, and so I think part of this thing that we haven't necessarily touched on this, but part of I think goal setting and expectations is patience. It's being willing to wait the days, the months, the years.
Times. Yeah.
And to sit through those uncomfortable moments of I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there, and I know I will.
Yeah.
And I love the journey and every step of the way.
Oh yeah.
I think that's why it brings me back to that question once again. And I'm not causing any more pushback on the concept, but I ask what's the rush in a way where it's like you don't have to continue to go faster than the wonderful, efficient tempo that you're already going. You just need to consistently show that up every single time and be present in that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of what our current generation and then a lot of what our modern day goes through is just the immediacy of being able to wanting to attain certain things. And I think what you're emphasizing, Anthony, is the light in how about we just take what you said, Josh, one step at a time, and then being able to be patient about the progress in that, and then appreciate what that looks like from within a month. Oh, do we see change? Okay, let's appreciate that. But also be so present that in every single hour of that day that you've productively fed into that goal, you can actually be content in that. And that's how I do a lot of mental exercises in engineering a lot of these goals for myself, especially when it comes to competitive like gameplay. You don't become professional or an expert at something with the 10,000 hours that go into it, and it's perfect. It's going to look inconsistent. It's going to be ugly. But you being able to actually feed into that amount of time and being so honest about yourself in that process, I think that's where you become an expert, because it's acknowledging that you've did a bunch of wrong, but also celebrating the amazing bunch of wins that you had. And saying, okay, a culmination of those two and my relationship with that is what has gotten me to where perhaps you are today, or where you are, 10 years down the road.
Yeah, no, that's valuable. I think it's potentially a topic that we can maybe touch on in the next episode too, is this idea of like, how do you bounce back from failure, right? Like maybe you failed, or maybe you did really poorly on an exam that you were studying for really hard for the past few weeks, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you get out of that? You're stuck, How do you get out of a rut?
Right.
Yeah.
Because your trend is this way. How do you go this way now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everything in your head. Everything is telling you, like you suck. This is it. You're not enough. You're not worth this. And all these voices that often just come from within, not really from people around you, are telling you, hey, like
Yeah.
yeah. As we round out.
No, that's definitely, I think, one of the greatest barriers that I personally struggle with, and I think you quoted that because of me. Like where I recently took an exam. I don't think we talked about this, but I recently took an exam, and I prepared for around a week and a half. Like I prepared more so than I do for most exams, which I already prepare a lot for, and I didn't get the score that I was expecting I would get, based on the effort that I put in and the discipline that I thought I was demonstrating, right? But I think the lesson learned from that was the discipline of self-affirmation over the expectations, sometimes mostly unrealistic expectations I put on myself.
I see.
And so I think that was a good example. But then I think the lesson that I learned when it comes to discipline in that space was how I learned that I could discipline myself. Or I'm not discipline myself. I can have discipline when it comes to preparing for an exam like that. Where I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did 150 practice questions a day. Like I could do 150 practice questions a day. I wasn't fatigued by the end of the exam. Like I could have done another one of those easily. It was like a 70 question exam. I could have easily done another 70 questions and felt just as attentive. And so it's like I think the win was my discipline, less so than the grade, as a reflection of me achieving something.
That's really deep too, because I think that I wasn't even sure if I wanted to bring it up, because like the majority of people don't even, like 90% of people that don't get their goals, this doesn't really apply to. But I think for the 10% of you guys that are out there watching this that actually do get to your goals, this is for you. I think there's a part of when you get to this level of achieving and you put so much work into this one thing, I think it's worth saying that discipline isn't the only part of the equation. Because if it was, you would have aced that exam.
Yeah,
right.
No, 100%.
It's like discipline. Just because I pour my heart and every single ounce of sweat into training for this bodybuilding competition, it doesn't mean I'm going to win.
Yeah,
so true.
And that's really deep, because for the 10% of you guys that are going after those things that you want to achieve, like it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it just because you want it.
That's a word. Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Just because you want it, and even when you're putting the time in.
Even when you're putting time in, the work.
Isn't conducive to it working out.
Yeah. Right. And
wow.
It's hard to sit with.
Yeah, that's a rough reality. That's a reality check for sure.
So do you, in those times, it's like, do you keep trying, or do you throw in the towel?
Well, I would say it's actually something entirely different from either of those, and I think this is sort of a concluding practical standpoint that I would leave is, yes, goal setting is great. Setting goals and expectations for your life, we were designed for order, right? Like we were not designed to be chaos, right? But I think that if you're thinking about setting a goal for yourself in this New Year's time, or just setting goals in general, recognize that discipline and motivation are necessary factors to move towards those goals, but also, and I would leave you with this, that goals aren't the end. Goals are a benchmark to aim for, but they're by no means a standard for your life or a standard of the value of your character.
That's right.
The most important thing, I think, more so than that, is the discipline. That's the real lesson. That's the real achievement.
Yeah. I guess I'll have a final word, and then I'll bring it over.
Yeah.
Like whatever you guys want to say, and then we could, and then David could close us off.
Sounds good.
I think where I stand with this, I think this one single thing that definitely has helped me the most is probably just embracing failure. I'm not sure if you guys expected me to say that.
I was expecting you to say that.
I wasn't, but that's the word, man.
Yeah, that's the
But
word.
I think when you can, I'll dare say, fall in love with failing and fall in love with the process of realizing your own shortcomings and then realizing that you can actually do something about it, that's a really beautiful relationship to have with yourself. Because I think so many of our own self-talk and self-limiting beliefs is due to that fact that we are afraid of failure. And when we are, to go full circle, if we're able to be like a water buffalo in those seasons of our life where there's a storm coming at us and we are not running away but straight towards it, in the event to pass through it at a quicker pace in order to get to the next storm, then I think that puts us in, a very powerful position to be able to achieve whatever it is that you set your mind on, whatever you want to do in 2026. So that's all I got.
Word. I think the phrase that I think of that comes to mind is failing upwards.
Whew.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
No, quickly, I think it just means that instead of stumbling and you feel like you're falling downwards, your failing is actually the route to grow. It's failing is the route to develop and change and be challenged and grow. Yeah. Oh.
Leave us with a banger, dude.
That's good. Hit us with a banger. Well, this is the phrase that I share with everyone that I come across, especially when they're going through a hard time. But it was something that I affirmed earlier, and it's to take one step at a time and really, really, really do that. Walk in that. You can have 100 things on your plate, and that's okay. You can eat everything on that plate, but are you eating them all simultaneously, or are you taking one thing at a time and being able to actually process and digest everything that you've got going in your life? So that's what I want to leave, and I can close this in prayer.
Absolutely.
So let's just do that for season 2, episode 1. Let's pray this out. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to say thank you, and I just want to invite you, Holy Spirit, into this space. Just want to say that I'm entirely grateful for Josh and Anthony being able to get this established episode 1 of season 2 down and shared with the audience, but also just out there, Lord, that we can express our understandings and all the good things that you allow us to express and think through an idea and thought. I pray that we continue to remain affirmed in our identities and that we share that with all others that we come across. I pray that this new season will be a reflection of the trajectory and potential growth that we are aiming for, but also just the healing that you've given us. So I pray in closing that you help us to recognize the good things that you've brought through us, and in this journey that we continue to be vessels and share that with all others. So we thank you, we praise you, and we worship you. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 That is going to be the end of our first episode of season 1.
So season 2.
Season 2. Season 2. Yeah, just to give you guys a real quick preview, I think, of season 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure the trailer will come out before this, but I think something that we've thought about a lot is this idea of the analogy of the body. And as we kind of have started off with season 1 being this idea of starting broad, of tackling different topics that we've discussed, season 2 and the next following seasons will be us tackling different parts of a body and of the body, and this season 2 is going to be of the head. And specifically, would you want to talk about what that might mean? What kind of things we're talking about?
The use of the body is a medium to talk about different topics in a lot more detail. So this season 2 is going to be the head/brain, and we're going to be talking a lot more about concepts like belief, clarity, anxiety, vision, worldview, things that are a lot more head focused. And as you'd imagine, if you talk into other parts like your heart, we can talk about the spectrum of the emotions, and we'll get into that in a later time. So really excited for what we're going to bring. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
That's a wrap, I think, for season 2, episode 1.
Yep.
Excited to head into this next one, and we will see you guys in the next one.